In 2000, Enron was worth $70 billion. By December 2001, it was worth nothing, and nobody saw it coming except the people who built it that way. That's not a coincidence. I hate coincidences, and Enron was nothing but a machine designed to manufacture them, at least on the surface. The company didn't collapse because of bad luck or market forces. It collapsed because its entire foundation was fiction. So how did a Texas energy company convince the world it was a tech innovator? How did it trick auditors, analysts, and the SEC? And why did it take a whistleblower to crack the whole thing open? Started in 1985, two natural gas pipeline companies merged to form Enron. On paper, it looked routine. But the CEO, Kenneth Lay, had a vision. He didn't want to just transport gas. He wanted to trade it. He wanted to build an entire financial marketplace around energy. That idea wasn't stupid. The problem was how he decided to make it real. By the early 1990s, Enron had hired a guy named Jeffrey Skilling. Skilling was smart. Too smart, maybe. He brought in McKinsey consulting ideas, the kind that sound brilliant in theory and illegal in practice. His core concept: hide losses in shell companies, keep liabilities off the balance sheet, make the company look more profitable than it was. On paper, it was just aggressive accounting. In reality, it was fraud. They called these shell companies SPVs, special purpose entities. The magic trick? Enron could sell assets to these fake companies, record the sale as profit, and then buy the assets back later. The money moved in circles. The debt stayed hidden. The earnings looked clean. It was financial theater, and for years it worked. Here's where it gets darker. Enron's auditor was Arthur Andersen, one of the big five accounting firms, the firm that was supposed to catch this stuff. Except Andersen was making more money consulting for Enron than auditing it. Conflict of interest? Sure. But in the 1990s, nobody cared. The fees kept growing. The questions didn't. By 1998, Enron started pushing harder. They needed growth. Real growth, not just accounting tricks. So they moved into broadband, internet infrastructure. They rebranded themselves as a tech company. Suddenly, they weren't just selling energy. They were disrupting the entire telecommunications space. The stock price exploded. Analysts called them innovative. Fortune magazine named them America's most innovative company for 6 straight years. But the broadband business was losing money. Massive amounts, and the accounting tricks were getting harder to hide. The debt was piling up. So Skilling and Lay did what cornered people do. They pushed harder on the gas. More SPVs, more complex structures, more lies layered on top of older lies. The house of cards was getting taller. Then in August 2001, something cracked. Sharon Watkins, an Enron executive, sent an anonymous letter to the board. She'd seen the books. She knew what was coming. She warned them. The board did nothing. Lay and Skilling dismissed her concerns. They promoted Skilling to CEO and told investors everything was fine. It wasn't. By October, the cracks were visible. Enron reported a $618 million loss. The SEC opened an investigation. Suddenly, analysts started asking real questions, and when they did, the whole structure collapsed instantly. There was no real business underneath. Just debt. Just fiction. Just smoke. In November, Enron admitted it had overstated earnings by $586 million over 4 years. The restatement was massive. It was also incomplete. Arthur Andersen, panicking, started shredding documents. Tons of them. That's when the fraud stopped being a financial crime and became an obstruction of justice. On December 2, 2001, Enron filed for bankruptcy. The largest corporate collapse in American history at that time. Over $70 billion in market value evaporated. Employees lost their pensions. Shareholders lost everything. The company that had been worth more than General Motors was worth nothing. The criminal trials came later. Lay was convicted of fraud and conspiracy. Skilling got 24 years. Executives went to prison. Andersen lost its license and dissolved, but the damage was already done. Enron wasn't just a company failure. It was a systemic failure. It exposed how auditors had become enablers, how regulators were asleep, how the entire system rewarded hype over substance. The real question isn't how Enron fooled everyone. It's why we let companies fool us the same way ever since. We still reward growth over profitability. We still trust auditors who profit from their clients. We still believe the hype before we check the fundamentals. Enron didn't fail because it was unique. It failed because it was inevitable. And that's the real scandal. Not that Enron committed fraud. but that we built a system where fraud was the rational choice, where the incentives pointed straight toward deception, where everyone, the board, the auditors, the analysts, the regulators, had reasons to look away. Enron wasn't a failure of one company. It was a failure of an entire structure, and we never really fixed it. So when people ask how America's most innovative company became a house of cards, the answer's simple. It was always a house of cards. The innovation was just making us believe it was a building. And we wanted to believe it so badly, we didn't ask the right questions until it was too late. Subscribe for more deep dives into the fraud, ambition, and systemic rot that takes down billion-dollar empires, because the patterns repeat until we learn to see them.